Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're seeing me for the first time, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Intentional Favor, and on this channel I share my life experiences on issues pertaining to faith, lifestyle, studying abroad, living abroad, social work, and so many good stuff. So please consider joining this wonderful family by clicking on the red subscribe button below as well as notification bell. And when you do that, please click on all so that you get notified whenever I upload new videos. And to my amazing returning subscribers, thank you guys so much for always coming back to watch my videos. So guys, in today's video, as you've seen the title already, I'll just be sharing with you guys basic tips when it comes to essay writing as students in the UK. So whether you are an international student, you are a home student, this video will definitely benefit you. But before we go into that, guys, I want to give a special shout out to Temitayo Akindoyi. Shout out to you, Temitayo Akindoyi, one of the members of the Intentional Study Japa, which is one of the membership groups I have here on YouTube. Thank you so much for your support so far. I really appreciate you, and I want you to know that you are really amazing. You are amazing, okay? You are wonderful, and I really appreciate you. God will continually bless you. Amen. This video is actually one of the most requested videos I've had over the years, but I'm not really sure why I've not had time to film it, and I'm really excited that finally, oh my gosh, I'm doing this, okay? So like I said, I'll just be sharing with you guys basic tips when it comes to essay writing. Yeah, so in case you don't know, I used to be an international student in the UK, and by the grace of God, I finished with distinction. Yeah, I finished with distinction, and one good thing about that is that all my essays that I wrote while I was a student, minus one, I got distinction in all of them, literally. So I got distinction in all my courses, like, you know, of course, if you are doing your masters, when you write your essay, 70 and above is distinction, right? Yeah, so all the essays I wrote in the uni, except one, I had 70 and above, and it will interest you to know that the one I had merit, the one I had less than 70, I actually had 69, which breaks my heart to say, but all things work for good, and at the end of the day, it didn't deter me from finishing with distinction. Yeah, so today I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of the tips. In case you've not seen the last video I released about how I actually finished with distinction, some basic tips that will help you as a student, even as an international student in the UK, I'll kindly advise you to watch that video. I'll leave the link in the description box. That video will really help you. So in this essay series, this is actually going to come in series because I can't cover everything about essay writing in one video, except it's going to take loads and loads of hours, right? And you guys know that personally I like explaining things very well. I really do. So I don't want to just give you guys points and then that's it. Initially I was considering maybe getting a board and then doing it like a class or something, but if I wait, I think that's one of the reasons I've actually waited till now to film this video, because I keep saying I will do this, I will do that, and I never did. So I felt the best way will be give you guys points and give you guys examples. So I have here with me my laptop, okay? So why I have my laptop here is because I have one of my essays. As a matter of fact, the best essay I've written, or the best essay I wrote while I was a student. I think I had over 90% in that. Either I had 92 or 92, right? I'll check later and I'll put it on the screen. So this is actually my best essay, okay? And when I was just preparing for this video, I found out that this topic, what I actually discussed in this essay, is kind of interesting because it's all about children's social services, child protection, removing children from their parents and all of that, okay? So I felt like to give you guys example, it would be best to read some parts of the essays, okay? So that you guys can hear an example of what I mean when I say something. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I'm just going to give you guys basic tips when it comes to essay writing. In another video, we are going to look at critical analysis when it comes to writing essay, or critical writing. What is this critical writing? They talk about critical writing, critical. What does that mean? I'm going to explain it in a very simple way that will make you to understand what they actually mean by talking about critical writing or critical analysis in essay writing. The first thing you need to know when it comes to essay writing is that your essay should be divided into like 3 parts. You have the introduction, then you have the main body, and then you have your conclusion. This is what makes up every essay: introduction, main body, and then the conclusion. Now, in most cases, the main body can comprise of many paragraphs, but from what I learned while I was in uni, actually, your introduction should be 10% of your word count. So if you are in the UK, of course, if you are an international student, you can testify to the fact that your essays always have word counts ranging from 2,000 to 5, 3,000. I've written 5,000. I think I wrote three 5,000 word essays while I was in the uni. What I'm saying in essence is that your essays will always have word count. So they will tell you your word count should be 2,000. And I think in most cases, they can tell you that you can exceed it by 10%. So if it's 2,000, you can exceed it for you can write like 2,200. Please check with your university. Every university might be different. But for my university, you are allowed, because there's no way on earth you will write your essays and you reach 2,000 on the dot. No, you will exceed it, and you are allowed to exceed it by a certain percentage. Make sure that you know the rule of your university or your department, and please adhere to that. At the same time, when you exceed the limit, okay, it has some penalties. So, for instance, they might tell you that if you exceed it, each 10 words or 100 words is -2 or minus this, okay? So please be careful not to exceed your word count. At the same time, be careful not to go below, okay, your word count, because that also has some consequences when you don't reach the word count of your essay. So like I was saying, your introduction should consist of 10% of your word count. For instance, if you are given a 2,000 word essay, what that means is that your introduction should be 200 words. Yes, your introduction should be 200 words. For instance, you might ask, okay, if they ask me to write 5,000, then my introduction should be 500 words, right? Yeah, your introduction should be 500 words, but it shouldn't be in one paragraph. So essentially, I would advise that make sure that your paragraph should be between 200 and 250 words. Okay, your paragraph shouldn't be 100 words. 100 words is not enough to be a paragraph in an essay, if that makes sense. So sometimes it can be 150 or thereabout, depending on the point you are making. But please be careful about very short paragraphs. Make sure that your paragraphs are minimum of 150. It shouldn't even be many that is 150. Always target 150, maybe 180 till 250, okay? Don't make it too much, okay? Don't make it even reach 300, all your paragraphs, okay? That will be too lengthy, okay? So make sure that your paragraphs are within this range when it comes to the word count. So that should be your paragraph, and then your conclusion at the same time should also be the same, 10% of your word count. So if you are going with a 2,000 word essay, what that means is that your introduction should be 200 words, right? Your conclusion to be 200 words, that's 400 come. Then the main body of your essay should be 1,600 words. Mind you, these are just approximate. It might be a little bit below, it might be a little bit high. So don't think because I'm saying 10%, 200, then you must make sure it's 200. It can be 180, 190, it can be 210, it can be 220. You get what I mean? So don't just try and be that rigid. Be flexible. But the important thing is that you have an idea about this. Now let's go to introduction. How do you write your introduction? Like I said, depending on the word count, your introduction should be 10%. So if it's like 500 that it is, maybe you are writing a 5,000 word essay or 4,000, you can make your paragraphs into two. So those essays I talked about that I wrote that were 5k words, actually my introduction was never one. I divided my introduction into two. There are several ways people like to start their introduction. People just like to start with this word. This essay we look at, this essay is this. They just start that way. Personally, I'm not a fan of that, okay? I just feel like I should give an intro. That's why sometimes, when I started this YouTube video, people were saying that I talk too much during my introduction or something. But I think that essay thing has entered me in the sense that I can't just go straight to a video without telling you just an introduction. Then we come to that, okay? That's usually how I like to start but it's not bad, okay? It depends on how you word it and everything. So some people like to start straight up to say, this essay will look at the rate of children moving into care. This essay will consider this essay will do this. But I think I forgot to tell you guys something. Please, when you are writing an essay, the important thing when it comes to writing your essay is to understand your question, okay? Maybe in a video, I'm not promising, I might look at how we can actually look at an essay. Maybe I'll use an example of an essay I've written if I'm preparing, because I don't just go straight into writing essays. The first thing is to prepare, okay? Maybe I should have said that first. You need to prepare. Sit yourself down, look at that, understand it, and then make a plan. What will you write? We will talk about that in a separate video probably. But like I said in my previous video, please, if you've not seen that video, I will advise you, I will encourage you to see that video. When I'm trying to do the preparation and I don't understand what this essay is all about, all I do is to go to my lecturer. I said it in that video. Please do yourself good to watch that video. So you prepare, you already know what you want to write, so that will help your introduction. This essay will look at this and that, and of course, not writing it should be a sentence, okay? So that's how your introduction should come. But like I said, I'm not a fan of that. I always like to give a good introduction. I just generally talk, okay, and then I now say towards the end, this essay will therefore, I'll give you guys an example. Let's see what I have here. So this essay I'll be using to give you guys examples, right? I can't really remember the topic plainly, but then this topic is about pre-proceedings. If you're a social work student, you might understand, but of course, even if you're not a social work student, I will explain what that means. So this is talking about that there is an increase in the number of children moving into care. So there is an increase in the number of children being removed from the care of their parents and put into care, fostering, maybe adoption, which is long-term and all of that. And I think they now asked us to look at why is this happening and are there solutions to that, something like that, pre-proceedings and all. Because this video is for everyone, I won't go into so many terminologies, but of course everyone knows about social services, removal of children from care and all of that. That is what this essay was all about, okay? So when I wanted to start my introduction, I didn't just start with saying this essay will look at this and that, okay? I just started with a sentence and then I referenced it and then I went on, and at the end of the day I wrote what my essay will look at. So that's what I'm saying. Like here I just said the increase in care proceedings and the number of children moving into care has been a concern and one which requires urgent action to be taken. Now, these were not my words, obviously, okay? So I got it from somewhere. So I put a reference and I wrote where this is. So you see, so we're talking about pre-proceeding, number of children going into care. I didn't just start this essay will do this. I just made a statement of fact and I referenced it that this has always been a concern and it needs an action taken. Then I put my reference. Referencing is another thing, okay? Maybe in a separate video we will talk about that. But for these basic tips, I'm still going to tell you guys some basic tips when it comes to referencing. So that's it about introduction. Now, this is a 5,000 word essay. Like I said, all I did was I divided it into two. Okay, the first paragraph, then I had the second paragraph. So when I finish all those introduction, like talking about a number of these, I'm not going to read out the whole essay, but the point is that at the end of the day, I will still tell my reader what my essay will focus on. So in the last bit of my second paragraph, I now wrote I wrote a line talking about what my essay will look into, and I said, however, for the purpose of this essay, there will be a focus on poverty. So I'm now telling my reader what this essay will be. I've talked about so many things about care proceedings, about children being taken into care, but I can't cover everything, okay? So I had to narrow down what my essay will be. And I said, this essay will focus, there will be a focus on poverty and deprivation, lack of early intervention, neoliberalism and austerity policies, insufficient support for parents with learning disabilities and parents whose children have been moved into care, and risk aversion. So this is what I said that my essay will focus on. Some of these factors, according to the CCR, are overlapping and are difficult and complex to untangle. I still made a reference to that. Okay, so this is how you can do your introduction. So you can start it the usual way many people do. This essay will look at this, but that can't be the only thing you write about your introduction. You still have to say so many things and reference it. Okay, in a separate video, I'm just thinking that it would be better to deal with referencing in a separate video, because that one is a world of its own. Okay, so when you talk about referencing, obviously the next thing that you should think of is plagiarism, right? So we are going to be looking at how to avoid plagiarism when you are writing your essay and making the right references. So the next thing you need to know about essay writing is topic sentence. Yes, so we've talked about the introduction, the main body, and the conclusion, and what they should be like, what your paragraph should look like, right? Now you need to know about topic sentence. Now, whenever you want to begin your paragraph, now we are looking at the body of the essay. Try as much as possible to begin with a topic sentence. A topic sentence is an introduction to the paragraph, and in case you don't know, every paragraph should focus on one subject. So don't discuss two different things in one subject. That's why if you discuss only one thing per paragraph, definitely there is no way your paragraph should exceed 200, 250, you shouldn't be getting to 400 or something when it's just one subject that is being discussed in one paragraph. So when you are discussing that, you should begin with a topic sentence. Topic sentence is more like an introduction to that paragraph, what this paragraph will talk about. There are so many ways to begin your topic sentence. Your topic sentence can be like a quote, like maybe when you are trying to quote someone, you begin with a sentence, and of course it's not your own, you have to put a reference, okay, to that. That's usually how you can start your topic sentence. Your topic sentence can also come as maybe just an analysis or something, and it's not something that you should reference. I will explain what I mean by that with an example. Okay, let's look at a topic sentence that is a reference to something, that is not your own analysis of something or your own statement, okay? Because when we talk about referencing and avoiding plagiarism in a different video, you guys will really understand what I mean by all of these things. So for this one, I'm just going to read out a topic sentence for a paragraph and how I reference it, because this is not my words. So I wrote here, poverty and deprivation have been reported for years by authors as the largest factor that explains the differences between local authorities on several aspects of child welfare, such as a child being subject to a child protection plan or the number of children entering care. Then I put all my reference. I had about three references, just that some of them have several names, okay? Yeah, so I had 3 references to this. So this is one way you can begin a sentence. It's very simple. This has been reported by several authors, or several authors have done this. What I wanted to discuss under this paragraph is poverty and deprivation. Okay, that's the main focus. So for me to introduce it, I had to use this. This is a common line you should really note when it comes to your topic sentence, quoting authors or stating that several authors have done this and that, or several authors or previous studies or several studies found out that the number of children going into care, you get something like that. So here I was trying to introduce poverty and deprivation. Remember when I told you guys what my essay will focus on, I mentioned poverty and deprivation. Right? So poverty and deprivation have been reported for years. You can say several authors have noted that poverty and deprivation are this and that. Then you can't just say several authors without mentioning several authors. So when you say several authors, at least make sure that you have about 3 authors that said that. That could actually justify the several authors. Not you saying that several authors have said this, then you have one reference. No, don't make that mistake. Okay, so I was talking about poverty deprivation, and this was how I introduced it. So every other thing I talked about in that paragraph was all around poverty and deprivation. So you can use one way, like I said, one way you can start your topic sentence is to making reference to other authors. Several authors have highlighted that socioeconomic crisis is this. Whatever you are writing, guys, I'm just giving you this basic tip. This is one way you can start your topic sentence about anything you want to discuss. Do your research and know the authors that have said some things about it, and just tell them. Several authors have found out that this and that. That's a topic sentence. Then go further to discuss. I hope that is clear. Now, there is also another way, like I said, that you can do your topic sentence without making reference to others. That could be your thinking, okay? Saying, I think that one of the things that causes, that makes children to move into care is because their parents don't treat them well. This is just a random thought, okay? So if you are thinking in your head, you know what? I think one of the reasons why they take children away from their parents is because of the nonchalant attitude of some parents. That's your thought, right? Let me tell you, and of course, you know that there are studies that can back this up. But now, talking about your what's it called, your topic sentence, it must not be, several authors have said this, you shouldn't be always like that, right? Of course, you should have other means of introducing your topic, okay? So if you have that kind of thought, there is something about this word could, could, it does wonders when you are writing an essay, okay? You know, one thing you should avoid, let me say this ahead of the video on plagiarism, is making statements of fact. Children are being taken away from their parents because of the nonchalant attitudes of their parents. Who asked you? How did you get that? Who told you? Where is the evidence? Where is the proof? You shouldn't make audacious or factual statements in your essay without a reference. So if you say something like that, that so many children are removed from the care of their parents because of the nonchalant attitude of their parents, there must be a bracket, there must be a reference following that statement. That statement is too factual. And mind you, you've not done any research, so you can't come up with any of those stuff. We go in details when it comes to the video on plagiarism and referencing, okay? So you should use some words, could, considered, okay? Yes, those are some of the things I'll talk about later on in this video. Even as we conclude, I think this video is already too long, all right? So, now, I said a sentence. I wanted to introduce my topic sentence. So what I wrote is, on the one hand, the removal of children from the care of their parents into care could be considered advantageous for some children. It could be considered advantageous for some children, okay? And then I wrote, as highlighted in the CCR, some children need the authority of the court to protect them from serious harm. This, and that, then I put my reference. So I just say that, you know, on the one hand, if you are thinking that this could actually be an advantage, this could be an advantage to some children, but it didn't end there. I still had to subsequently make clear points, an example of that I'm saying or alleging, and I put my reference, okay? So this is another way that you can actually introduce your topic sentence. I'm going to look through this essay to see another way that might be different or that can, you know, strengthen the points I've made earlier when it comes to topic sentence. This is another way, guys. Evidence shows that 1 in 4 women who have had previous involvement in care proceedings are most likely to reappear in care proceedings. This one I still referenced it. So you can say evidence shows that, studies suggest that, evidence. This is another line, really, when it comes to your topic sentence. Just tell that evidence shows that this, and that. But when you are talking about evidence, there should be a reference, right? So then you put your reference. So moving on, you know, where I mentioned that another way is about the word could, the power of the word could, C-O-U-L-D, okay? Now look at this topic sentence. The mental health state or parental capacity of parents could be considered as another factor that contributes to the increase in the number of care proceedings and children in care. So I have actually read about the fact that, you know, the mental health of some parents actually leads to, when we're talking about mental health now, you read it so many places that maybe parents with learning disability, that sometimes their children tend to be taken away from their care. Because maybe they can't, you know, parent because of their, especially those that have severe learning disability, okay? So studies have shown me that sometimes their children are removed from their care. So I could just think about it. So what does this mean? So for my topic sentence, I just said that the mental health state or the parental capacity of parents. I didn't state it as a fact. And let me give you guys the difference between fact and opinion. As a student, not even a student, when you are writing an essay, okay, you should make more of opinions. Anything that is factual, that is not your opinion, must have reference. But you are still allowed to make your opinion. That is when the lecturer will know your thoughts, and that is what makes your essay good. You should still have your opinion, but never make the mistake of stating your opinions as a fact. Okay, now this example about mental health state of parents and their parental capacity is an example I'll give you to distinguish between facts and opinion. Okay, so my topic sentence was my opinion, and I said the mental health state or parental capacity of parents could be considered. That's an opinion. It could be considered, they could be considered as another factor that contributes to the increase in the number of care proceedings and children in care. That's my topic sentence. It's an opinion. It's not a fact. Could be considered. Okay, now I can't just end it. Like I said, it's an introduction. I wanted to talk about parents with learning disabilities and the statistics that we have about how their children are removed from their care due to their mental health. So in this paragraph, I talked about parents with learning disability and how their learning disability is one contributing factor to why their kids are removed due to maybe they don't have parental capacity. They assess their parental capacity and they find out that they can't actually take care of this child. Okay, now that was what I wanted to discuss, and I have done my research and I found out that studies actually prove this. But for me to introduce this, I could have said several studies suggest that it has been established by several authors that this, then I'll put my reference. But now I wanted to state it as my opinion because all my topic sentence shouldn't be all about several authors, evidence this. I now introduced it as an opinion based on my reading. Okay, so that's when I said the mental health state or the parental capacity of parents could be considered. Do you guys get the point I'm making? It could be considered. If you understand this, it will help you in your essay and you will avoid being being queried for plagiarism or any of those stuff. It could be considered that this is an opinion. Now, let me state this as a fact. The mental health state or parental capacity of some parents is a factor that leads to the removal of children or increase in the number of care proceedings and removal of children into care. That's a fact. That mental health state of parents or their parental capacity is a factor. I said it is a factor. If I make this statement, which is a factual statement, I just said it that it's a factor that contributes to the increase in number of care proceedings, and I don't put a reference. No, that's not right, because who told you? What research did you do to find out that this is a factor? So you shouldn't just make that mistake. So for you to introduce it that this is actually what you gathered, what did I do? I put it that parental capacity or the mental health state of parents could be considered a factor that leads to the increase in. That's a topic sentence. Then I went on and on to now say, for example, in care proceedings, parents with learning disability. Mind you, I wanted to talk about learning disability, but then you know that having learning disability is also about mental health. So I didn't just talk about parents with learning disability or this. I just talked about it. It's actually their mental health. So sometimes you really need to think like that. I wanted to talk about parents with learning disability, and that has to do with their mental health, right? I didn't just talk about that. Then I talked about mental health, and then I said, for example, parents with learning disability, that is about mental health. So this is how you should really think sometimes when you are writing your essay. Now, finally, the thing I would like to discuss in this when it comes to the basic tips for your essay is that each paragraph should have a conclusion. You have your main conclusion, and I'll still talk about your conclusion. Yeah, that will be the last thing I'll talk about. But before I talk about that, let's talk about each paragraph. You should summarize each paragraph. Okay, and in the summary of each paragraph should not be about referencing. The summary of your paragraph should be your own conclusion. After all this evidence you've gathered, quoting so many authors, what's your own conclusion? What do you have to say about this? That is what will actually help you. I will talk more about this maybe when I'm talking about critical analysis, because that is actually where the critical thinking comes into place. Okay, so watch out for that video on critical analysis. That might be the next one, or referencing whichever one comes next, but that will make you to understand what critical analysis is. Okay, but that's not just it. It's part of critical writing, but that's not the main thing about critical writing. So you should have a conclusion or a summary of what you discussed in each paragraph. This one that I talked about, parenting capacity, look how I concluded that paragraph. I said, it could therefore, or therefore it could be. That is my summary of what. So what have I gathered from all of this? I've discussed everything that several authors said. What's my conclusion? So don't make your essay to be all about quoting authors, quoting. That's why your essays will not give you high mark. Okay, you won't get high marks from those essays. That all you do there is to talk about what an author said, because you've heard that you should avoid plagiarism. And because you want to avoid plagiarism, you are now quoting. And you can't even give your opinion on what you could come up with from reading what other authors said about a particular subject. Okay, so I've finished discussing everything about learning, parents with learning disability, lack of parental capacity, or parents that are assessed to not to have parental capacity. So, and I made so many, like I quoted so many authors. All right, so all I did is, it could therefore be considered that pre-proceedings should be flexible for parents with learning disability, and professionals should provide them with extra support and time to process and understand information during and after proceedings. So I won't go into details about what I discussed in this paragraph, but I found out that, studies said that these parents with learning disability, sometimes they show up in pre-proceedings and they don't even know what is being discussed because of their learning disability. Okay, so I now concluded that I didn't just set it as a fact too. I didn't say, therefore, parents with learning disability should be suggested. No, I still said it that it could be considered that pre-proceedings should be flexible for parents with learning disability. I'm not giving my opinion as a scholar from my research when it comes to this essay. It could be considered that pre-proceedings should do this for parents with learning disabilities, and professionals should support them, or should provide them with extra support and time to process, because I discussed something about them not having enough time. Parents with learning disability, they are given the same time. There is a number of days for pre-proceedings. You are given time to prepare. How come parents with learning disability, they have the same time frame? I'm thinking that maybe they should be given extra time. Okay, that's a suggestion I'm giving. So I put it this way to conclude that paragraph. So always have a conclusion to your paragraphs. So still talking about concluding of each paragraph, I'm going to read one conclusion I gave about one paragraph I discussed austerity. Okay, so I said, therefore, the truth is that most times when you are concluding, therefore should be what you should use. So never feel shy, but you can put it in different ways. For instance, the last time I said, it could therefore, okay, or you can say, therefore, it could be. Just trick it, but at the end of the day, you might feel that you are rigid, but that's just how your essay should be structured. So I said here, therefore, it could be concluded, it could be, okay, could. That's one thing you should not miss in your essays. It could be concluded that austerity policies have led to the increased number of care proceedings and children in care. Okay, this is because I've not really done a thorough research or something, but then from everything I've gathered from other authors, I could actually conclude that this. So these are some lines when it comes to concluding your paragraphs. Therefore, it could be considered that. Therefore, it could be concluded that. I'll give you another one. Therefore, it could be argued that if the concerns, okay, so use the word considered, concluded, argued. If I check, I could come up with so many. So these are the ways to conclude your your paragraphs or when you discuss a particular topic. Mind you, someone will be asking, does it mean that each topic or each subject will come in just one paragraph? No, my dear, no. Okay, when I was talking about parents with learning disability, I wrote it in 3 paragraphs, but each paragraph talked about one particular things about learning disability. Another one talked about professionals' roles, what they should know. Another one talked about something else. So it doesn't mean that everything about mental health, for instance, or any subject should come in just one paragraph. A subject could come in 3, but of course, try and divide it to highlight. It can't just talk about everything about that, okay? And highlight them and always conclude, or that conclusion is more like your finding from all of this. If you know this, even your dissertation, you will do very well in your dissertation writing. So let's talk about conclusion, even as we conclude this video. In conclusion, your conclusion, what should be your conclusion? We already said that your conclusion should be 10% of your word count, okay? What that means is that if it's 2,000 words, it should be 200, okay? Now, what makes up your conclusion? Your conclusion is basically the summary of everything you discussed in your essay. Everything, no omitting one. Okay, so that's why your conclusion shouldn't go and discuss anything new. No, your conclusion should be the summary of everything that you have written in that your essay. So my conclusion, there are several ways you can start your conclusion, but the most popular one, I also like to use it so that, of course, I will tell the author or the reader rather that I am concluding. So you can just start in conclusion, comma, this and that, and then you should summarize everything. Maybe for the fun of it, let me read the conclusion of this essay for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. So I wrote here, in conclusion, a considerable number of studies highlight the factors that contribute to the rise in the number of care proceedings and children in care. This was what my topic was all about. Increase in care proceedings and increase in the number of children going into care. So I was concluding that several studies actually highlight, or several studies made it a fact that several factors, okay, lead to this. So, and then I went on, some of these factors as examined in this essay are as a result of policy changes which have direct impact on children and families. Inasmuch as it could be in the best interest of a child to be moved into care, if the issues that resulted in the removal of the child remain unaddressed, it could result in more children being taken into care. So we are talking about removing children and then it should reduce. If you don't really address this, I'm concluding my essay, summary of everything. If you don't address this, then it will still increase. It will not end. Perhaps by looking beyond removal of children from their families in an effort to protect them, and focusing more on addressing the challenges that confront families, the issue of recurrent care proceedings and increased number of children moving into care could be solved. Considering the role of professionals, particularly social workers in care proceedings, recruitment and training of competent and qualified social workers would go a long way in reducing the number of care proceedings. Also, the grief that comes with losing a child to public care, if unattended to by professionals, could result in short interval pregnancies. Hence, the need for professionals to work more with parents whose children have been moved into care. So professionals should work with them, really, okay? Although with some limitations, PAUSE project, as highlighted, provides such service and represents a model of good practice that could avert the problem of recurrent care proceedings and increase number of children in care. This was my conclusion. So I talked about every other thing like what I've talked, and I'm just concluding, telling that this is what should happen. And most times your conclusion should have no reference, because you are summarizing. That's when you should know how to word. You can see here, if you count the number of could are used in this conclusion, you understand why you should use all of that, because you are giving your opinion, you are giving your suggestion, a summary from everything you have gathered. So most times your conclusion should not, as much as possible, shouldn't have any reference, because that is the opportunity to give your own point. And you've seen how I worded this. Another thing I forgot to say is, for instance, okay, if you are doing a professional course like social work, when you are writing your essay, make sure that regardless of the topic you are discussing, always tailor it down to social work. Okay, I don't know what course you are studying or whatever, but always give example, always put everything to social work, social workers. Maybe you are an engineer, this and that, project management, always link it, always link your essay to your profession. Okay, your examples, for instance, should be tailored to your profession. That's one thing that can actually help you in your essay. I remember one thing while I was reading this conclusion, but I seem to have forgotten that. But I wouldn't keep this video any longer. But I really want to believe that you enjoyed this video. Please give this video a thumbs up. It goes a long way. I'm sure you like this video. This video is loaded. Okay, share it with as many people that you think might need it. Also, let me know, apart from the ones I already mentioned, if there is any essay related topic or subject you want me to address on this channel. Let me know in the comment section. Ask me your questions in the comment section, and I'll be seeing you guys in my next one. And please don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you have not, for more useful and important content. And I'll be seeing you guys in my next one. Until then, stay blessed, remain intentional, and take good care of yourselves. Bye.